Hello, and welcome to another edition Note Investing Made Easier, the podcast show. Today, we have a very special topic. We are going to be talking about creating a social good with note investing. And it's interesting because this is actually a topic. This is actually how a lot of, people in our industry have kind of built their businesses around, helping bars, helping communities. And so it's something that's often a part of a note investor's business model or philosophy, but it's not so much spoken. It's not, it doesn't get the attention due to it that it deserves. So we're going to spend our time together today talking about how you can create social good with note investing. But before we jump into the topic, I'm going to make a few announcements. We have, our Destined Mastermind group has been sold out, and it's set for October. So we're really excited about all the folks that will be attending that mastermind. Based on demand, we have, some individuals that weren't able to make Destin or able to sign up in time. So we're gonna create a Las Vegas mastermind group for note investing for experienced note investors. So what's interesting to that extent is that many in our space believe that education is just there for individuals that are starting out, the newbie. However, that can't be further from the truth, in that once you have a set up note business, there's always numerous areas of improvement that you need to make within your house. So come join us. We'll share our best practices. We will engage with your best practices, and you know what? The world will become a better place as a result. So that's kind of.
I need a vacation. I don't know about you, but I need a vacation. What better place than the Vegas Strip, right?
We will have fun. Yes, fun is always an entailment of. It's a requirement of everything that we do. So with that said, let's get into the subject, and I'll kind of kick things off, Shawn. Shawn being my co-host, my partner in crime, myself being Martin Saenz. I think I just jumped over introductions that way. So
oh good. They know.
Forgive the rudeness. Yeah. So with that said, my first experience into note investing actually came about when my wife and I started business ownership in 2004. We had just started a museum exhibit company, purchased a home that we operated the company out of. And what happened is we were flat broke, and probably really crazy for making the moves that we made. We were acting like we had $1 million in the bank, and we had negative 200K in the bank, and so but we went full force. We were committed, right? So it always starts with commitment first, and then taking action second. I write about that in the Cash Flow Dojo book. And so what happened as a result is the bank took action against us because we weren't making our mortgage payments. And so the company was Litton Loan Servicing, for those of you who remember that name. And what happened is I made every attempt as a struggling business owner to connect with them, to get a payment plan in place. I would mail them a mortgage payment. They would mail it back to me because they wanted a full reinstatement. They wouldn't accept anything less. They would, pass me off to different people when I called in. They would, loss mitigation, didn't talk to legal, and, nobody would want to work with me and give me at the time of day. And they really treated me like a criminal. And so I'll never forget, that kind of negative experience coming from someone who always has paid their bills, who, always tries to do the right thing. And for just the bank just to snub me and then string me along and charge fees and everything else when I was trying to communicate with them and get something worked out. So I ended up writing my senator, congressman, governor, oh goodness, like anybody who would listen. And just to explain that, hey, you know, I want to keep my home. We operated our business out of the home, so it was our livelihood. And this lender wasn't you know, giving us the time of day. And it was interesting because, I mean, it was caused such strain on myself, such a stress on myself. And, you know, I remember Googling Litton loan servicing. You would see blogs about Larry Litton, which was, I guess, the founder. Larry Litton is the devil. And you would just see all kinds of, like, and it was bizarre because all these occurrences other people were having, hundreds of people were having, I was having the same occurrence, and they were trying to keep their homes. They were trying to work out plans. And this company was just straight up ghosting them. And so I believe Litton Loan ultimately sold to Goldman Sachs, but that kind of experience still lives on with me. And I'll tell you, it really created kind of the baseline for how I set up my note business in 2013, whereby I said, hey, I'm going to be a compassionate investor. I'm going to work with the borrower and you know, keep them in their home. And it really just kind of connected the dots. And so I'm really glad I went through that trial and tribulation earlier on, because it really helped set up the foundation for how we operate today. What are your thoughts on that, Shawn?
Martin, we have a decision to make when we get into note investing. We can be Larry Litton, or what was it?
Larry Litton.
Litton. We can build a business like Larry Litton, whereby we're making, you know, crazy money off the backs of Americans who are in trouble. Or we can make a decision and say, you know what, I need to create win-win scenarios, which means the borrowers win, our business thrives, and those decisions should be made before you get into this space, right? And we have the power of doing the right thing. The question really comes down to is, what are you going to do as a note investor? Are you going to use that power for good, or you use that power to line your own pockets like Larry did? And for us, our business model is that of compassion, knowing that if we treat our borrowers right, they will do right by us most times. And so as a note investor, you're going to make a decision, right? Am I going to be like Larry, or am I going to have some compassion? And so you know what we've decided to do.
Yeah, and let's go into it. I mean, let's talk about some of the ways that, you know, one can set up a note business for themselves whereby it's based on compassion. And, you know, some of the things that we do is reduction of principal. You want to just touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about interest arrears first, real quick. We'll get into reduction of principal. But if you want to talk about what is one of the easier things to change in a loan, that's reducing the interest arrears. Now we buy mortgages at a discount, right? And so borrowers come to us, and it's very easy for us to reduce the interest arrears, which is very different from the big banks, right? As you said, you know, Larry was acting like a big bank, and they were not taking any penny less than what they were owed. And if you didn't deliver what you were owed, then they were going to take your property. But for us, a very easy way to make accommodations for our borrowers is to reduce the interest arrears. And that can be very impactful. I mean, if you have a loan that's 40 or 50,000, they haven't paid over the last, 7 or 8 years, that could be a significant amount of money. And so reducing the interest arrears is something that can be easily done. And a lot of, we do it a lot as a regular occurrence with our borrowers. And then I would just say another another easy thing for us to do is to also forgive late fees, right? Most notes are written with a 5% late fee, and so that 5% over the course of 5 to 10 years adds up very quickly, and so we can easily reduce late fees also as our approach.
Yeah, and in some cases, we've worked with the homeowner to turn over their property in exchange for debt forgiveness. So, moving outside what we can do for them in terms of a payment plan that they can afford by working with them on forgiveness of past due interest arrears, forgiveness of late fees, we can also touch on an exchange whereby someone signs over their property via deed in lieu in exchange for debt forgiveness. Now, we have a situation now where we have a borrower that needs to move into an assisted living facility, and the family doesn't want the burden of this debt obligation because the parent has to move into assisted living, and that's going to require a lot of capital. So what we're doing is we're going to take the less profitable route. We're going to take back the property, which is something we never want to do. We're going to take it back. We're going to, reposition it, clean it out, change locks, get it ready for resale, and we're going to sell off the property. Now, even though that's not our most profitable exit, getting the loan modification would be, we're still going to do it because it creates the win-win situation. And that's something that is extremely important with our line of business. And I know, like Bill McCafferty put out there 2 studs, he holds this too, and others in our trusted community hold this mantra, and that is create the win-win situation, because when you do that, everybody is left in a better place than where they originally started, and that's just how a social good's created, in my opinion.
If you think about what's happening with the borrower or their family, it's a lot on them already to be having to move mom or dad out of the house, likely that they grew up in, to a new location, right? Assisted living. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of pressure on the family. And then to have to deal with the property after the fact, to have to deal with all the creditors that own liens on the property. Us stepping in and be willing to take the property from the borrower at that time is a social good in and of itself, right? Again, you said it's not our most profitable exit, right? We want a payment over the next 30 years, but it's the best option for both parties, and both folks will win, right? We may not make $1 million out of that trade. Hopefully we make a little bit of money, but at the end of the day, it's about creating a social good. Not just for us, but the way that we represent our business through our employees and everybody who works for us, that everybody who leaves the organization knows that we did the right thing, right? No matter what. And so that's important for me, because that reflects upon me and you, Martin, how we run the operation. It's a direct reflection on the fact that we don't want to be like Larry, right? We want to run a business that creates an impact on the community while also, allowing us to stay in business.
Yeah. And in the long run, if you hold that true, you're not only creating the social good, which is the topic of today, but you're also it helps you stay out of trouble too. From the perspective, and I say that kind of quote, tongue in cheek, is that in this industry where we're working with borrowers, and it's in the debt collection industry category wise, if you can always operate your company from the perspective of doing everything possible to help the borrower maintain their home, I mean, that's going to go a long way in terms of mitigating risk, in terms of how you're operating your business. So that's important. So another situation is we have an individual, and they're in a senior as well, and we have full equity coverage on a junior lien position. And so with that said, normally a note business will look at that and say, well, I'm going to go the distance, right? Legal wise, I'm going to press on the situation because I have full equity coverage. I paid a little bit more for the note, et cetera, et cetera. But in this case, the borrower is they're senior and their family wants to pull money together to go and pay this home off for the mom, to pay this debt obligation off for the mom, so the mom can have the home without this burden as she's in her senior years. And so we could go ride the course and look for every dime that's owed in terms of legal balance, but we're not. We're going to say, hey, look, we paid this much for the note. We can afford to accept this in terms of a discounted payoff. It's going to work out in this case. And we're not going to lose any sleep, right? And we're going to be doing a good that's going to impact the family, impact, mom, grandmom, if she's a grandmom, and it just makes you feel good as a note investor.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about, we have the power to create social good, and I know our community does that, right? But just other people who don't know us need to know that these are the choices we make every day. We make these choices, and for us, the better good is giving back.
Do you want to touch on the Michigan note in terms of how we played that one?
Absolutely. So we got a call from a borrower in Michigan on a property, and they owed way more than the property was worth. They knew that it was underwater, and they were willing to walk away from the property. Now, that's not what we want, right? We don't want our borrowers to walk away from the property, and so we do everything that we can to keep them in the home. And so in this scenario, we looked at the fair market value of the property. We looked at what was owed on the debt. And then we also looked at the cost that the borrower would have to pay if they relocated themselves and rented a property of similar size. And we determined that we could provide them with payments that would help them stay in their home and pay less than what the market value would be. For example, I think the market value in that market rental value in that area is about $1,500 a month. And so we were able to keep them in their home, save them a few $100, $200 or $300, can't remember. It might have been $1,200 that we charged them, forgave all the debt, and rewrote the mortgage as if they were going to just pay $1,200 a month to us. And so we're able to provide them with a place, their home, right? Because before they would have had home ownership anymore. We were able to reduce the debt. We forgave the debt and created a situation where they could stay there. They could pay less than what they would have paid if they had to move out. And at the end of the day, they maintain ownership of their house, which I think was important.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, that's interesting. So when we say, hey, we're going to do everything possible to create a win-win situation, it could deal with something like that Michigan note where you're talking about looking at rental comps and making it affordable for them to stay in their home, helping out someone in a senior status, with their family members and relieving them of the debt obligation, helping someone, get out of their home because they need to go to assisted living, helping someone creating a payment plan with a monthly payment they can afford. So all these things are things that we're able to do as a note investor. And, we encourage folks that are new to this space, that are kind of learning about this space. You have an option, you have a choice to make. And that is, you can do three things, right? You can build your business model on exiting through the property, whereby you do everything possible to get that property back, to evict whoever's in there to reposition that property for whatever exit you want. You have the option of going through the bar and working with the bar to keep them in their home, or you have the option to go both ways and kind of do, be prepared. You should be prepared for whichever way something goes. But for us, we've chosen to put all our eggs in the basket of keeping the bar in their home, but we're still prepared. We're still very prepared and very equipped to handle, an exit through the property if we need to. What type of social good are we talking about in terms of the community that's involved where that property resides?
Yeah, this is an interesting topic too. If you think about what happens to the neighborhood, if you take Larry's model, and that is, I'm going to take every property to sale and get every dime out of it. What happens is the neighbors are impacted, right? The neighbor next door, the neighbor across the street, who really had no involvement in, what happened, right? The borrower across the street fell on hard times, lost their job, maybe went through a divorce, went through an illness, and the neighbors next door are now impacted. The house next door now has no grass being cut because the bank took it through to foreclosure. Now it's going to sit vacant for 9 months. The windows are going to get broke. Nobody's going to fix it. And the neighbors every day coming home from work have to drive by that and think about, man, that is, how are my property values going to be impacted? When that thing goes to sale, is the bank going to unload it for pennies on the dollar? How's that going to affect the comps of my property? I was trying to sell and retire here in the next year or two. And so all of a sudden, this one situation with a borrower is now impacting people around them that really had nothing to do with the situation. But if you are a note investor who buys that property and you decide that we're going to resolve that issue as quick as possible, right? I'm going to find a way to keep the borrower in their home. I'm going to find a way to not let that property sit there for the next 9 or 10 months, impacting the community. I'm going to deal with it right away. And so what we don't realize is this situation, if not dealt with, will impact the local community. And we have the power to change that.
So I'm going to ask a question here. How can proper due diligence help create a win-win, especially on the side of the borrower?
How can proper due diligence help?
Yeah. So understanding the note with all the metrics we have, produce a better trade, a better buy for that note, which gives us more options. That's kind of where I'm hitting at with that. I can go ahead and field that question.
Yeah, absolutely. If the work is done on the front end, you're able to kind of see these potential problems ahead of time and deal with them before they become very large.
Yeah, and also too, when you're buying at the right price points, then you're able to have some leverage to offer concessions to borrowers. So let's say that you do your due diligence and you overpay for a note, you may have less juice to give away to the borrower in order to make the necessary concessions to make the right payment plans that are going to work for the borrower and sustain over time. So it's interesting with the whole win-win concept, because if there's imbalance with that, and you do something that's more heavy favored on your side as a note business and less favorable to the borrower, then that's going to show in the way of a future default from the borrower. So if you're always looking at, keeping that seesaw in balance, then the borrower's gonna, in most cases, the borrowers are gonna recognize that they're gonna appreciate that you treated them with compassion, that you listened to their situation, that you created a plan that was advantageous to them, and through that relationship building and accessibility, then it's going to create a legacy for a note business.
Absolutely. And that's what we're all about, right? That's what bequest fund is all about, creating a legacy. And that's important to us. That's the image that we portray to our investors, to our borrowers, and our employees. And so we're about making legacy type decisions every day when we're dealing with a borrower. Just like you said, keeping that seesaw level, right? We're not trying to build a business off the back of people who are on hard times. I don't want to wake up every day doing that. I want to wake up every day, know that I'm actually impacting a situation for the good, taking some stress off somebody, and leaving the situation better than we found it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, I look back to all the modifications, that we do in our company, all the modifications I've done since, past 7 years, and hundreds upon hundreds of modifications that I've negotiated, that I've put to paper, and every single one of them have been fully amortized loan modifications. So that's one of the priorities that we have for our company, is that everyone gets a payment plan that fully amortizes their loan, whereby at some point in the future, they will have satisfied that mortgage obligation. And that's so critically important. And we see it from our reperforming loans that we purchased. I was going to use jargon, sorry. Reperforming loans that we've purchased where they're in a performing state, and they're not only not fully amortized, they're negatively amortized. And so, tell the audience about what we've done with a particular portfolio where that was like every single loan. It was not fully amortized, and it was negatively amortized, as a matter of fact.
If you think about the situation the prior owner created, they've created a modification on a loan where a borrower could never pay it off if they paid it for the rest of their lives. And so that borrower, I mean, what are they waking up thinking every day? Like, I'm never getting ahead. I'm never going to pay this off. Like, this is never going away. And so, we think about what our borrowers wake up and think about, right? I think that's a big part of our business. And so we want that borrower to wake up and think that they're getting ahead, that they're making payments, that they will eventually own that house. And so for us, when we see that, we change those modifications. We give the borrowers hope that one day that loan will be paid off. And at the end of the day, it's another win-win situation. Now, could we have kept collecting on that negatively amortized loan, and 10 years from now, when we sell that loan, we'll have not lost a penny of value, right? Because no principal is coming off. Or could we? But who knows? Like, maybe the borrower gives up a year or two from now because they're waking up sick of thinking that I'm never going to get ahead. I'll bet that if I create a situation where they see that they'll eventually one day own that house, they're not going to walk away from it. And I've created a good for them and a good for our business. And so, we see loans that are written poorly, that were favored in one direction. We like to balance that, rebalance those loans.
And what's interesting is the play on the term bequest, because we did it intentionally where, we're creating legacy wealth for us and our investors, but we're also creating a legacy play for the borrowers whereby they can pay off their home at a certain point in time. So we intentionally meant it to go both ways. And I think that, that's something that's kind of ingrained with us. But everyone, we really appreciated having you on, appreciated the questions. And we will look forward to seeing everyone next week. And thank you for your time, and take care, everyone.
See ya.